Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Pumps and Politics. It is November 10th. And we're just starting out with a laugh. Our producer slash associate producer, intern slash associate producer just did her Pumps and Politics jig, her little two-step
Her little warm-up dance.
That was the funniest thing. Oh, my goodness.
Kind of caught us all off guard.
I know. Well, she's 21. She kind of feeling herself like we've already established.
Yes, this new 21-year-old, Lord.
I don't know. She got her new fresh hair and her 21-year-old ID.
Yes.
She's
yes.
come with. Okay, first of all, you all sent out the wear green memo and didn't send it to me, apparently. I'm feeling a little left out.
Right.
Well, lovely green. Jenny, we know why we love the green. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Just saying, maybe perhaps a little ski wee, little AKA up in there. Just a little something.
Alicia.
Our
scrapping up in
producer over
here.
here, she's a Zeta, so she's hating on a little bit. But we see the real representation.
true
We know what time it is. But we are in an awesome move. Normally we're dragging a little bit. Somebody's dragging and somebody's got to pull us. But this morning we're on a pretty good note.
This morning. I don't know.
It could be the juice. I think
I got green juice this
you
morning.
finally brought it back.
The green juice.
Oh, no.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
Water.
Bought a Nutri Ninja and wanted to try it out. So
I
like it.
I would just like to note that yet again she's brought in the juice and didn't bring none for nobody else. I'm just saying.
I had to try it out first because this is a new system. Next week, it'll be 2
Sometime
weeks, 3
soon.
weeks. Sometime
Right.
soon.
when you come back to us.
Sometime before Christmas.
Right.
There you go.
We'll have
There you go.
some green juice for everybody.
We'll just
juice
sit and
all
wait
around.
patiently. We appreciate it. Today's a big day, Lainey.
Woo! Today
Yes.
is Veterans Day. First
Shout
of
out
all,
to the
let's-
vets.
All to the vets. Salute to all of you all for all the service that you all have done for us to help protect our country. So, if someone hasn't done something nice for you today, we have.
I feel like we need some, I'm never into sound effects and whatnot, but I really wish we had some, I don't know,
Music,
I don't know,
some type of
something, a hand clap or something. We
Maybe
would
can get that at
salute.
the
There you go.
break.
We salute you, veterans, and a very special shout out to all the veterans in my life, but especially to my father who did 2 tours in Korea. In Vietnam. Wait, hold on. Let me get it right. I'm thinking about news and stuff today. In Vietnam, he went once, came back, and decided to do a second tour in Vietnam. So shout out to Daddy, who was retired and at home, and a very, very, very special shout out to the love of my life, an important veteran who served his time in the Navy. My boo thing, my Mr. Scott Wallace for his service.
Yay.
And to everyone who has served our country. We love you all. Speaking of serving your country, let's just go ahead and jump right into our our Navy SEAL over here who broke code.
Wait, first of all, he's a Navy SEAL, and a Navy SEAL is what? Part of a team. There is no what in team. There's no I.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're running your mouth.
Right. For those of you all who don't know what we're talking about, this Navy SEAL has come forward and said his name,
Robert O'Neill.
Robert O'Neill has come forward and said that he was the one who shot Osama bin Laden. Well, there's a reason why that, they're a team. They don't talk about this. This is not something that you do. The Navy SEAL team killed Osama bin Laden. This was not one person. This is when back in
It
the
is
old
kind of
days
like he's trying to take credit for the whole thing. That was a
Right.
very dangerous mission.
It was.
And as if it was all,
Like
him.
he planned it, he did it, he executed it,
Right.
he was there by himself.
Wrote a
That is
book
not what
about
you do.
it.
Wrote a book about
Yeah.
it.
And
Like,
there's-
here go.
And there's
Right.
another Navy SEAL who wrote a book, but he did it under a secret name.
Yeah, he did it under a pseudonym.
And they said that that the Navy SEAL may be coming after them. But just a little refresher, was back in May 2011. If you all will recall, that this special forces team descended upon a compound of Osama bin Laden's compound. He had in there, obviously, I don't know if you necessarily want to call them soldiers, but his what's the word? His protectors. You know what I mean? Why am I at a loss for words this morning? What's going on?
like brains are
His
going
security.
to
His security
detail.
His own security detail was there. He also had, I believe, a wife or one or two of his wives that were there. But the chopper came in and the chopper crashed outside. The U.S. chopper, so it was already dangerous, kind of alerted them. The Navy SEAL team then went into the house, had to cut through the house, and ended up ultimately making it to Osama bin Laden's secret quarters and shooting and killing him. And so now this Navy SEAL is not only coming out saying, I did it, But he's like, and in a sense, kind of bragging, y'all. He's like, well, I shot him a third time for good luck. That's a quote.
Right.
I thought I'd give him a third shot for good luck.
And you know,
That's what
one
he
of the
said.
things that is it irritates many in the military because in the SEALs in the eyes of the public become heroes once their stories are told. But the actions that warrant such a claim, and this is coming from an article that was written, are being built on the backs and the boots and the bloods of thousands of anonymous troops. People have chosen to, keep it quiet, as well as far as safety is concerned. Now you've put yourself out there. You've put your families, your friends, you've exposed yourself, your life, everybody to whatever radical or fundamentalist or what have you that may want to come out after you all. It's not a good
Well,
not a
and
good look.
the other Navy
At all.
SEAL, the Mark Owen dude that actually wrote the book, is now blaming his attorney for giving him ill advice to write the book, which I think is ridiculous because
Don't blame
your
the
attorney
attorney.
only can advise you. You make the choice.
You should have
Nobody
known
told
better.
you. Nobody
He's
told
advising
you
you
to
based
publish
off
the
of
book.
what you wanted
Right,
to do.
that's what you wanted to do. So now he's suing his lawyer for malpractice. Right.
Too late.
For tarnishing his reputation.
You thought it was a
You
good
did
idea
on your
because
own.
you know what? That fame bug bites people, and they
It
want
does. It's
It
dangerous.
And a lot of people don't realize that being famous is not all what it's cracked up to be. It's just not.
There's a lot of pressure, a lot of weight, and a big old spotlight that comes
And
with
there's a
it.
lot of responsibility in being
Whole
famous.
lot of
And a lot of
responsibility.
people equate fame with wealth, and they're two totally
They're
different
different.
things. I will take wealthy all day long over being famous. I would rather
Oh,
to
yeah.
live in my anonymity than
With all my millions
Right.
and or billions, whichever, God, I don't want to limit you. I don't want to put
Right.
you in a
Right.
box.
with all my
or billions,
coins.
Lord.
There you go. However many there might be. Speaking of fame and a spotlight being with that, obviously she's starting to catch a little heat, which we know is going to come with it. She is the nominee for U.S. Attorney General, Miss Loretta Lynch, who President Obama has put up for that position. Of course, there's some processing that has to follow, but they're already trying to tarnish her name, saying, "Oh yeah, that's the Loretta Lynch that was part of the Whitewater, investigation."
Right,
They're like, no, that was another one.
That's
Try
different.
again.
Try again. Try to break her down just to get. And then, of course, you have those people that threw in the race card. Well, why did he nominate a black?
Of course.
He nominated a qualified woman. This
Right.
woman is double Harvard educated.
Oh, I got it right here.
Double Harvard educated.
She
woman.
is, well, let's point out, if she is confirmed, she will be the first African American
Female.
woman to hold this position. She was appointed U.S. Attorney by President Clinton in 1999, and then again by President Obama, obviously in 2010, which we've heard a little bit about. She has a long length of experience, which you were talking about, Lainey, in the Department of Justice. She's Harvard educated, obviously a lawyer. She's been a member of the board for the Federal Reserve Bank of New York,
right.
and she was a litigation partner at the Horgan and Harston LLP, and she's been the lead on several high-profile cases.
Right, and just recently, the Eric Gardner case, the
Yeah.
case,
Right.
with
Yeah.
the police brutality, and so she
Yes.
has the chops to deal
She's
with
got it.
with all of the stuff that's been going on and all the cases that she will be called in to deal with. She also was the lead on the Abner Louima case in New York, and that was when he was attacked and raped with a police baton or broomsticks and stuff. So she understands her stuff.
She's got it.
Right. But the interesting thing is going to be whether or not the GOP allows her to be confirmed before
Yeah.
they go into session.
Right.
So again,
gotta
that's
walk
why
through
it was so important for y'all to go out and vote.
Can we talk about the fact that only 1/3 of all Tennesseans went to vote? Can we talk about that?
What is up with
Very
that?
disappointing.
Can we talk about that? 1/3.
I'll let you have it, because that just bothers me.
I don't understand how people have fought, died, everything for the protested, whatever, for the right to vote, and people just take it for granted.
Right. I don't know what needs to be done. I really don't. I mean, it's a couple of things coming up here in the city that I know we're going to talk about, but I don't know how much more information, how much more prodding, how much more people have to get on the radio, on TV, the news, anything else to get folks to understand how important it is to vote.
How do we galvanize those who we're not reaching? Because there's clearly a segment of the population that is not being reached. Like when I looked onto my Facebook page on election day, everybody was throwing up stickers. I voted, I voted. And I was like, this is wonderful, but these are my friends. These are the people that I know that I choose to be around. These are the people that I know will vote because these are responsible people, because I'm not that Facebook person that just lets anybody be my Facebook friend. So my Facebook friends, I generally know who you are and how you think and how you react. But we're missing a segment of that population. And how do we get to that segment of the population and get them excited and pumped and get them to the polls? How does that happen? How do we do that?
I don't know. I kind of think that population doesn't want to be reached, quite frankly. It's an unfortunate situation, but I do think that there are a lot of grassroots efforts that happen, especially in our community, to reach exactly that population, and they just don't want to be reached. So it is, maybe it's, why do you feel like your vote is not valued? I think is a bigger question of, what is it about the voting process that you're either afraid of, you're nonchalant about, or again, that you feel like it's not even valued. When people that you voted for don't win, that doesn't mean that's the end all to be all.
Right.
Well, go ahead, Lane.
Later on today, we're going to be discussing a little bit more about the Amendment 1. And Amendment 1 only passed by 70,000 votes. That's nothing. 70,000 votes. That's it. So, but go ahead. What were you saying, Harriet?
One point to mention, because, I teach up here at Tennessee State University, and I've heard this from a few students. And one guy in particular, and I just had to go in with them, but they all asked the question, is there anything on there that has to do with me? Now, of course, my response is every ballot has everything to do with you.
Right.
But in particular, this is a young male. He's married, and he has kids. And I said, everything especially
has to do with
on
you.
this recent ballot, had everything to do with
Right.
you. And then another student, so the first thing, got my computer going.
It's
I'm
not
sorry,
me this
Alicia. I'm putting it on
time.
mute.
Woo!
It's on mute.
Can we get the clap sound?
How
It wasn't me.
Yeah, normally you've got it, but now my computer went to sleep. But anyway, so first of all is getting people to understand, everything has everything to do with you. But then the other thing, one of my students brought up a really good point, because when they're away from home, they can't vote unless by absentee ballot, if they are not registered now in Tennessee or wherever, state they go to school. And my student brought up a good point. He said it would be nice if they would open in the polls, like when you go to the computer, maybe you can put in like a code for your home state.
That would be
To
great.
register, so that it can, register what it'll pull up your ballot, right? And then it'll count there instead, because who really knows how the whole absentee ballot works?
Right.
The process. The students don't really know. Not saying anything against them, but we know, go to the polls, go to your site and vote. But
And
what's the
absentee
process for
ballots,
absentee?
if I'm not mistaken, aren't they? They're not voted. They're not counted until after. After the election.
It's usually It's usually what about a week or so afterwards. I never really pay attention, but I know it's like a week, maybe up to about 2 weeks or so
Right.
after.
So again, it goes back to the value piece. Is if my absentee ballot is counted a week after the elections, is it truly valuable? So I think that's an opportunity for this young man to, there are a lot of intern opportunities within the legislature. It's an opportunity for him to be that person to take a stand, create an app, present that as a potential bill
That is an
before the
Who's
representative.
speaking, Janine?
Right. I mean, you have to still take responsibility for why you don't go and vote and not give excuses.
Right.
Well,
And then
I
it was
think-
funny because I had a Facebook conversation. Well, sort of a Facebook conversation with this girl. She was like, "Well, I got off work too late." I said, There were 2 weeks.
Right.
Just
I put that on Facebook.
Just
I
already.
scooted my class back. We started late so I could go vote.
Pause, because you have 2 weeks of early voting.
Right.
You take a lunch break. I know you do. You do. And early voting is quick. It took me 5 minutes to early vote.
Yeah.
5 minutes. Took me like 10 minutes to drive there and 5 minutes to vote. So no, sweetie. No. There are no excuses, especially in the state of Tennessee. Now, other states don't have early voting, but in the state of Tennessee, there is no excuse not to
Like,
vote.
who does not early vote now? Not early vote, but what states do not offer that? I think that's just the smartest thing ever. Just makes so much sense. But anyway, we just bless the lady who, was too busy to vote. But also, Janine, you just hit on something. I think we may have to, I'll find out that student and we can get with some of our legislatures. I know we're fairly close with a couple of them,
I
and
feel
see if
like-
we can get that in the works.
I feel like
Exactly.
voting is like teaching your children to eat vegetables. And here's the thing. When children plant seeds and they watch the food grow, they get really excited about it and then they want to see what it's like to be able to eat it because they've cultivated it.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's to me, you have to cultivate this seed in people so that they get excited about voting and they get excited that knowing that their vote can make a change.
Yeah.
So this starts very young.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to make people get excited that, oh my gosh, I'm 16 now, but when I'm 18, I get to vote. I get to, not have to, I get to.
Right.
And
Oh,
so
I was excited.
I was excited too.
Yeah, when I got my little card, it was like
I was
a
like an adult.
driver's license.
Right? I was
I
like,
love it. Well,
I can make changes.
and just to mention very briefly, we do have, as you speak of internship, I just want to make sure I get this plug in before we go to break. We do offer, Pumps and Politics does offer an internship program for high school students and college. This is for women and ladies, for right now, just for women and ladies, with our elected officials so that they can be immersed in the political industry. We're going to talk a little more about that because we have some things coming up with that, which Alicia and Lainey, I got to update you on. But all right, everybody, stay tuned. We have more coming up after the break, more big headlines, more topics, more things affecting you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese.
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Today might be the day I drop out of school. Today could be the last day I try. My parents alone can't stop me. My friends can't even stop me. But you might be able to. With United Way, you could tutor me, be my mentor, or volunteer to just read with me. If someone had helped me earlier, I might not be struggling. And studies prove that kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. There are tons of ways people like you can help kids like me stay in school. And United Way is calling for you to be one of them. Because it takes 12 years to create a graduate. It takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between me becoming one or the other could be you. Make me a success, not a statistic.
Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Pumps and Politics. We're still having a lot of fun. We've needed this Monday.
Yeah.
It's been
This is a
rough.
fun
Yes.
We
fun
had some
Monday
rough
morning.
Mondays.
And it's funny because it's
been
cold
great.
outside, but we're like,
But not for long. It's supposed to be 70 degrees come noon.
Oh God.
Only.
You know,
it's
it's gonna be
just
only
40
in
by the
Tennessee.
end of the week.
Yeah.
Killing my sinuses.
and tomorrow's supposed to rain.
Oh, geez.
Sorry.
We'll
I didn't mean
have
to rain
5
on your
inches of
parade.
snow by Sunday.
Right.
But
It'll be
anyway.
melted by Sunday evening.
Just gotta love it. So, but yeah, we were talking just before the break about our internship program. We really want folks to become a part of this. Again, we want to get more young ladies immersed in the field of politics. You don't necessarily have to be a politician. That's not everybody's suit to wear. But we want you to be a part of the political process. You may want to be a press secretary. You may want to file legislation. You may want to do research. whatever it might be, just be a part of it. And so if you are interested, you can contact our very own Alicia Bailey, who loves working with all of our interns in our programs. It really is a blessing for her. She gets so excited and invigorated when dealing with our students.
It's
but
new blood for her to work with, and
I
new people
know.
for her to influence.
Yes.
it's awesome. She's a wonderful person.
So
to work
please
with.
reach out to her.
It is A
lot.
Bailey. A Bailey at this is so fun. A Bailey at WTNTribuneRadio.com. A B as in boy, AILEY at
If you have
WTNTribuneRadio.com.
Daughters, cousins, sisters, brothers, sisters, just if you need more information, come see our Facebook page. We have a whole bunch of stuff out there about it. So
We'll be putting that up. Ages 16, I believe it's to 24, I think we said, or 16 to 24, if you fall within that range. The other reason why you need to be involved and be in the know, especially if you are of legal age, is because there are things that are on the ballot that matter to
And
you and
affect you.
impact you. More specifically, like what we just had recently, Lainey, on the ballot.
Yeah, recently we had on the ballot Amendment 1. And Amendment 1 was whether or not they were going to restrict or leave the abortion topic, the abortion, in the Constitution, the way it is, leave it the way it is, or actually restrict it and make it harder for a woman to obtain an abortion in the state of Tennessee, regardless of whether it's rape or incest. And this amendment, as you all know, did pass by 70,000 votes. Remember, you all, that's only 70,000 votes that did allow this amendment to pass. And with us today, we have from Planned Parenthood, Stephen Emmert, and he's this chief operating officer. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit more about what this means to the women of Tennessee.
Well, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Stephen.
morning.
Welcome.
Here, thanks so much. One of the things that we know is that they have, since the election, those who were proponents of this amendment to our Constitution have come out and said what legislation they would like to see, which would include waiting periods, requiring all facilities that provide abortions to be an ambulatory surgery center. And I think that what we're going to see is that probably will just increase over time, because what this amendment did was say that sort of when it comes to abortion, it's anything goes as far as what the legislature wants.
So, and what I think one of the other things is, what you're saying is that each time the legislature comes to meet about this, they can increase what more restrictions and more restrictions. So they'll start off small, but it's going to snowball, and they're going to keep, adding little things in it. So, and sometimes they're going to add stuff that you don't even see or notice, because it'll just get bulked, lumped in there with something else, and until the point where they will eventually eliminate the option for women to have abortions in the state of Tennessee. And I think that that's where, it gets dangerous, because then what?
Well, and I think, too, that, for years, those who have been behind this amendment have made clear their intention to make abortion illegal, that is their goal. And that's, I think, the really frightening thing for women, or for anyone who knows a woman. I mean, it's just so appalling to me.
One of the things that I thought was interesting, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, Lainey, when it came to the language in there, and I know that there were some very aggressive campaigns from Vote Yes and Vote No, because I know in particular from Vote No, because the language wasn't really clear. There was a lot of complex language in there, and it wasn't exactly clear what this bill is saying. And so
I think that was part of their strategy, was to confuse the voter, who perhaps wasn't paying that much attention, and I think they succeeded at that, because I have talked to so many people who were involved in this, who had friends who called them and said, "Now I read this. Which way am I supposed to vote?" And so I think that was part of their goal, in terms of just making the language so confusing.
It took us a long time. We had to actually sit down here and break it down. We had to go online, and it took due diligence to try to figure out exactly what they were trying to say in this. We broke it down. We tried to make it as plain English speak, so that, when you get there, the worst time to learn about an amendment is when you're standing in the ballot and you're trying to vote. You're standing there and you're like, what does this say? I have no idea. And so we tried our best to try to break it down, to give people, the option of voting how they wanted to vote, because it is, at the end of the day, it is your choice of what you wanted to vote for. But if you are uninformed and you don't know what the language means,
Why do you think it passed? Was it the complexity in the language? Was it people just not knowing, people not voting? Or was it that there was just a stronger contingency of folks that wanted this to pass? What do you think happened?
I think it was all of those factors combined.
Perfect
One
storm.
of the things, one of the things that I read last night was this midterm election saw the lowest voter turnout since 1942.
Yeah.
We were kind of in the middle of
pretty
a
awful.
world war then, so you could understand people being distracted.
Right.
We really don't have any excuse. So
No.
it was great to hear right before I went on about the internship and getting people active, because no, you don't have to run for politics to be active in the political system, and we need you.
Yeah, it's
Many
just being
roles
civically
to play.
engaged, because
Be
a lot of
aware,
people
be
don't
involved.
realize how much this affects them. You know, they just want to get up, go to work, but things affect you every single day. So it's definitely, internships are definitely important to get the word out.
Well, and again, the people who are going to be impacted most by a waiting period, for example, are those who have to travel, those who are lower income. If I'm working 2 part-time jobs and I'm able to find daycare for my 2 kids for 1 day, now I've got to do it for 2 days. And I find it just so insulting to women to think that they need a waiting period, to think it over.
Yeah.
1, women know what abortion is, and 2, she's thought about nothing else since that pregnancy test turned out positive.
Right.
So to insult her in all women, in my opinion, into saying that you need a little more time to think it over
It's
makes me
insulting.
angry.
The other thing is, what does this mean? Looking down the road, what does this mean for the foster care system? Does this mean that there are more unwanted
Oh yeah, there are going to be
pregnancies?
some adjustments.
And
Yeah.
does this mean there are more kids that enter the foster care system, which can't handle the kids and that they have now? So, I mean,
we have
will
to consider
this,
the welfare system also,
right,
as a
the
lot of these
welfare,
mothers who
the SNAP programs,
Well,
this
right.
all impacts all of this.
Well,
wanna
right,
ask a
were they?
question.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. I want to kind of go back to the ambulatory piece of it. And I'll just say I'm pro-choice. So I voted no because I believe a woman has a right to have a choice. But in digging into this amendment as well and kind of looking at some of the pros and cons, there have been a couple of articles that talk about the whole regulatory piece of some clinics. And so from a Planned Parenthood perspective, how are you all regulated? How safe? What is the surgical process in terms of having someone there? I remember hearing on the TV one of the commercials for those who were basically did a phone call of a woman who was bleeding out.
Which was just
Right, and I mean it was
violated her
very
rights.
crazy, but yet honestly that's reality for some clinics and some places. So what do you have to say in terms of Planned Parenthood, how you all are safe within giving that woman a right to choose abortion?
Sure. Abortion is the safest medical procedure that a woman can have. And actually, a study was recently published that determined that abortion is anywhere from 25 to 40 times safer than a colonoscopy. So when they talk about women's safety, that gets my blood pressure up too, because clearly with a procedure that safe, the people who really care about women's safety are the ones who are providing abortion services. I will say that Planned Parenthood is an ambulatory surgery center. We do have a license. We get inspected every year, but we're also regulated by other folks, whether it's the fire marshal or CLIA, which is a lab regulation. And every doctor's office is, falls under the guidelines of the medical examiners, or not the physicians' regulations. So it's not like places are going unregulated. And anytime you use anesthesia, there's always a possibility of a reaction. I mean, an ambulance has probably been called to my oral surgeon's office. I mean, and so, but yeah, I think it was, clearly it had an impact because it made people think, oh, is this dangerous? And obviously the answer is no.
Well, I want to go back to the point that you were making before, Lainey, which is really something that we have to consider now. What does this mean moving forward? If we're obviously going to see, well, that's if, and we'll talk about that in a second. That's if this lawsuit, falls flat for them to nullify this vote. But this will change. This will cause a major shift, especially when we look at the adoption process adoption impact, but then also when we look at government assistance for these families, because a lot of women choose to have an abortion, whether it be because of traumatic instances in her life, but some because they simply cannot afford it. So then that means that we'll have to pay for this even more. So then that will, I'm sure, will spawn other, legislation down the road. Have you all had any discussion about that? I mean, I know this isn't necessarily Planned Parenthood's place, if you will, but
no, but I think just as a citizen,
right?
You really have to think about those things long term, in terms of, are we going to expand our WIC program? Are we going to expand child care options? Are we going to make pre-K universal? And who's going to handle all of those other things that come with denying women a right to an abortion?
Mm-hmm. And the same majority group that is, not wanting, not wanting to make abortions legal and women to have their own choices, is also the same group that says pull yourself up by your own bootstraps.
But they don't consider the fact that some people don't even have boots.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. And we have to provide them. So, let's deal with that down the road. But I also want to ask you, what are your thoughts about this lawsuit that's coming out? This group is asking that the vote be nullified because, some folks didn't know the language was too complex. But then also they're saying, I believe, if you didn't vote for the governor,
you can't
then they
vote.
want you to.
Right. I mean, when our state constitution was created, they wanted to make amending it a difficult process, so that it was well thought out and something that the people really wanted. And so one of the requirements was that in order to pass, it had to have 50% of those who voted for governor plus one. Mm-hmm. And I don't know really anything about the lawsuit other than, what you probably have read. But if the folks who voted for the amendment didn't vote for governor, then that basically goes against what the Constitution says.
So then it becomes null and void, and we go back to the ballot box.
And to inform those who are listening who may not know about this lawsuit, a group of opponents to Amendment 1 filed a lawsuit on Friday in federal court, and they're saying that the state ignored the plain language of the Constitution, which says it can be amended by, quote, a majority of all the citizens in the state voting for governor, voting in favor, of the amendment. So they're wanting the judge to order the state to count only those Amendment 1 votes where the voters also cast ballots for the governor. And if that is impossible, they want the vote voided. So we're going to see this play out. It's going to be a big tug of war. This is another battle coming forward. But I want to ask now, lawsuit or not, or this may be part of it, what does the passing, where it stands right now, what does the passing of Amendment 1 mean to Planned Parenthood? How will this impact you all directly moving forward?
Well, we're not really sure yet. Because no legislation obviously has passed. Mm-hmm. What we foresee is them passing the laws that we talked about earlier in January, which would then go into effect in July, and we would then have to figure out how that affects our operations and how we do things. I think the other thing to remember is that because of this language, they can opt to not make any exceptions for victims of rape, incest, or even if the woman's life is in danger. And I think for those, the impact is going to be felt most significantly on those women who are already dealing with a very traumatic situation.
When they talk about a waiting period, did they say did anywhere did they mention like what is the waiting period? Can it be? Is it a 2-hour waiting? Is it 24 hours? Did we?
They have mentioned 48 hours.
Mm-hmm. Good grief. Yeah.
And again, I find it so insulting.
Well, me personally, I'm just like Janine. I believe Lainey's in the same place. Right. We're all pro-choice. I think just it being on the ballot in such a manner is insulting in itself. But
right.
I feel like it's Pandora's box. You regulate what people do with their body here. You can do it everywhere else. But anyway, and
that's one of the things we tried to say in our campaign was that basically, this went well beyond the issue of abortion. This was about privacy.
Exactly.
And the state of Tennessee's Constitution has a really strong privacy clause in it, and that's been severely hampered at this point, and where it goes from here is, open to discussion.
What's so interesting to me, and I think I said it before in our last show, is that the same people that were wanting this, Amendment 1, and dealing with your privacy are the same people who want smaller government.
Right.
Which doesn't make
so it just works for whenever you want it to work.
Right. So you want big government in my uterus, but you don't want
but not in your money or
right.
whatever.
So I don't understand how. How do you?
Very hypocritical.
Exactly.
Extremely.
How do you
It's an
differentiate?
entitlement issue. Yeah, it's definitely an entitlement issue.
Yeah.
Well, power and privilege.
Right, exactly.
Power and privilege. Stephen, we thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Please come
Thank you so
back.
much.
I was going to say, we need to, this is
Anytime.
like,
This
we
is a
need to
great
dedicate a
what-
show to this. This is
Right.
Spending time with you all is a great way to start my week. Let me tell you. So anytime.
Thank you,
We-
Stephen. Oh my
thank
gosh, we need to like
you.
clip that out and keep running it on the radio station. We thank you so much for your time and thank you for you all's efforts on this very important issue and you all's position and stance when it comes to women and their bodies and the future of our
And just
children and
taking
their
care of them.
welfare.
Yeah.
Right.
course.
Women's.
Human
Hats
rights,
off to Planned
human rights.
Parenthood.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Stay in
Thank
touch.
you.
Everyone,
Thank you.
Stephen with us from Planned Parenthood. Be aware, be in the know, be involved. We'll have more information. We'll be following this story as it progresses because it's not over yet. Stay tuned, everybody. Neither is the show. We'll be right back.
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. We rope it up, cause we know how to jump. We roll it out, cause we know how to skate. We'll cut it down, cause we know what to eat. We'll swap it out, we eat healthy stuff. Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. Yeah, well come on.
Today's a good day to grab your kids and hang out with them for an hour. Dance, walk, play a sport, or cook a healthy meal. Because just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier.
Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. We'll ball it up, cause we know how to hoop. We'll mess around, cause we know how to play. We'll drop it down, cause we know how to dance. We'll veg it up, veg night and day. Can we do it?
Search We Can online to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day to keep you and your kids healthy. Remember, that's We Can. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Just now, another kid dropped out of school. There's one every 20 seconds. Over 200 kids an hour. That adds up to nearly 5,000 kids every school day.
If we do nothing, 3.5 million kids won't receive a diploma over the next 4 years. But there is someone who can change that. And that someone is you. United Way knows that kids who have a caring adult in their life are more likely to make it. So make a pledge. Tutor a child who needs help. Mentor a kid who needs someone on their side. Volunteer to read to children. Because the path to success or failure starts long before graduation day. And the difference between a graduate and a dropout could be you. Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Pumps and Politics, everybody. Great discussion in that last segment that is still going on.
Yeah, it was hot.
And we have with us our special guest who is no stranger to Pumps and Politics. She's one of our girlfriends, Miss Holly McCall. She's with the AMP. She's spokesperson for the AMP here in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Holly.
I'm so excited to be back. It's been a while since I started my morning with the ladies of Pumps and Politics.
I know. You got to come back more often. We have a lot of fun when you're here.
Well, I've almost called you just to see if I could come on here. I might just come on and pontificate because I'm never at a shortage for words.
Pontificate.
Well, you
I
were
love
busy
it.
last week, I heard.
I have been busy the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
You know, Mark Twain once said that contrary to reports of his death, or something like contrary to reports, he was not actually dead. Neither is the AMP, although there are many sides to that issue, and y'all might want to ask some questions about it.
I think, first of all, we need to start off so people can understand what is the AMP.
Okay.
Break it down.
Yes. So the AMP is supposed to be a bus rapid transit line. And as it's proposed right now, it's a 7.1-mile route from 5 Points in East Nashville over to St. Thomas Hospital in West Nashville. Now, I think it's called bus rapid transit because it runs ideally in a dedicated lane. So the bus is not running in car traffic. One of the most notable examples in the U.S. is Cleveland, Ohio. And I've actually ridden that. I rode it there before I even knew Nashville was considering it. So I thought, well, this is kind of cool. I think most people just don't understand I think a lot of people don't understand what it is, how it might benefit them, why this route. There are a lot of legitimate questions about it.
Well, one of the other things to make an important note of, and also as we talk about clarification. So it looks like the project itself was going to cost, was it $175 million?
That was the first estimate, yes.
Okay, and there was a major chunk of that was coming from the Obama administration. But then we had to seek some additional funding that we're looking for from the city and the state. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, what's very important to mention, and this is why we have you here to break this down and clear all controversy and any questions. Mayor Carl Dean has decided to, I guess, kind of table this, if you will. But this does not mean the end of the AMP. It just means we're putting it to sleep and the next mayor pick this up. Is that correct or no?
Well, basically. So here's the deal. So the project is slated to be $174 million. Now, that figure is probably going to change because you all may or may not remember. It's very complex, but back in April, the mayor said he was going to cut dedicated lanes out of the West Nashville portion because that's where a lot of the opposition is coming. So once that design is finished, that might cut the budget down quite a bit. However, the mayor said he was not going to seek funding from the state and the city council this year. So that is kind of what leaves it to the next mayor to deal with. Now, one of the things there's been a lot of confusion about is people think that we, as in myself and Mark Sturdivant, who's the project manager, that we actually go to the legislature with our hat in our hand and say we would like $35 million or whatever. What we are doing is we continually work with TDOT, the Tennessee Department of Transportation. They would be the ones to have to fund the project. It would be a line item in their budget. So they laid out the steps for us and said, hey, you've got to get through steps X, Y, Z, as prescribed by government processes, and we're not going to go fight with the legislature on your behalf. We're not going to put this in your budget if you don't have everything cleaned up, all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. That makes perfect sense to me. So by the time we do everything we need to do, go through the environmental process, the legislature is going to be out of session. So that's why the mayor said, well, look, we just really can't. There's just really not an opportunity.
Hands are tied.
Right.
Okay. One thing we do know is that Nashville does need a better, more dedicated rapid transit system. So
we just need a rapid transit system, period.
Right. Because as we all know,
no shade to MTA, but we're just saying.
As we all know, when we're trying to get here in the morning, it gets a little hairy, trying to, make sure that we're here on time so that we can talk to you all. Yep. So now that it's kind of being tabled, are you guys rethinking it and rethinking how to go forth?
Well, you have several great points, and one is we need a whole system. And I think that's one thing, and I work for MTA, but I think that's one thing we've done a really poor job of communicating over the last several years, that this would just be the first arm of a system. Because folks say, well, where's the rest of the system? And we kind of go, don't really know. We have a new CEO. He's been in Pittsburgh, originally from New Jersey. That man, he speaks truth.
Cities that know this kind of system.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we are starting, after the first of the year, an entire new strategic planning process, lots of public input. I cannot stress how much public input. We're in the process of laying that out, how many opportunities people are going to have. We're going to have an online component because we want people to tell us what they need, where they need to go. Now, having said that, there's probably no scenario under which West End is not going to have some kind of rapid transit because it's a big street.
Yeah.
But to your point, yes, we need a whole system, and we need to hear from people.
So when you guys are thinking about redesign, are you considering areas where the transit system wasn't considered before. And because a lot of the controversy in the community has to do with the transit system being in areas where people really don't probably need it because of their lifestyle, their economic status, et cetera. And so taking the system beyond downtown into the north end of Nashville, even as far as to Gallatin Road.
Down to Antioch.
Right, has been more of what people are asking for, and why certain communities have been a little bit on the fence because they feel like they're being left out.
Right. Well, again, this is just going to be one line of a system. And we have not done a good job of communicating that, yes, we need to look at putting better transit all over the city. You're absolutely right. It needs to come up 8th Avenue, and it needs to go out to Antioch. Anybody who lives in Antioch, if you're going and coming up to I-24, that traffic is, I think it's the worst in the city, bar none.
I don't travel to Antioch just because of that whole traffic. 3 areas that I just dread traveling. Antioch, well, more specifically to Antioch, and then to the Green Hills area. Hillsborough Road is a nightmare. Right. 24 hours a day, though.
Yes.
It's always jam-packed. And then Antioch is there may be once in a while where you can catch a break, but there's always just a lot of traffic. And I want to ask you, Holly, and Janine touched on that as well. There was some opposition, some concern in the routes that were included. And you mentioned that you all are going to kind of not start all over, but revisit the drawing table a little bit with some considerations. The opponents to the AMP route, and I don't want to say the AMP itself, but it was, the route. Did that have anything to do with you all revisiting the layout of things?
Sure. Yeah, because honestly, you need opposition. Like, you don't want a bunch of yes men out there. Yeah. And it's not a perfect route. Even those of us who work on it, the downtown portion it's kind of a mess. It takes a lot of turns, and we continue to work on the route all the time. So yeah, I think having opposition is good. I don't agree with all of it, with all of the things I've heard, but yeah, I mean, they've brought some things to the forefront, and we work on it. I mean, most of us on the project, all of us on the immediate project team, are from Nashville. We're not here to put some system in that's going to screw things up worse. I used to live in Washington, D.C. I rode transit all the time. But I moved back here, and it is almost impossible to take a bus from where I live and get to work in any timely fashion. Where I live, off of White Bridge Road, in the not cool part of West Nashville, if I miss my bus, because let's face it, I run late, I'm going to wait another 30 or 40 minutes for the next bus. That's just not convenient.
Do you think that maybe there would have been more support for the AMP, or not? And not that there isn't a lot of support for it, because I think that there is. But do you think that there would have been more support if you would have chosen a different route to start with?
No. I think that people are always, like, there's always going to be somebody for a project, and there's always going to be somebody against it. So if we'd put it out to Antioch, then there are folks in other neighborhoods who would have said, why didn't we get it here? Or if we'd sent it up to North Nashville, then I guarantee you there are people from other parts of the community who would say, why do you cater to that community? So I think transit is a difficult project. I used to work in land use management, and anytime you wanted to upset people, if you were trying to tamp a project down, you mentioned traffic. So traffic and transit are they're difficult concepts for people to grasp. And another city, and I don't remember which one, that worked on putting a system like this in, their tagline was, some of us use it, all of us need it. And I thought that was great, because traffic around here is getting much worse.
It is.
And even if you or me or you do not actually ride the bus, we got to get some people out of their cars. We can't just keep piling cars on and widening streets.
And I think it's, in some areas, very interestingly, traffic is way worse than what I thought it would be. So the Old Hickory Boulevard going 65, that whole corridor before you kind of even get into Brentwood or right on the edge of Brentwood is nuts. And a lot of it has to do with talking to TDOT and even those people who regulate the traffic lights. It's like I don't know what it is about Nashville, and I'm a native. I don't know what it is here where we have an issue where we've got multiple traffic lights within a small square footage of road, and they're not all timed. So on that stretch of Old Hickory, you've got like 1 billion traffic lights, and you'll go through one that's green, and then within probably 10 feet, there's another one and it's red. And so it's clogging up the road. So I think sometimes, even if you can't get, rapid transit out into those areas, even if you just worked on widening roads and also looking at the cycle of traffic lights based on how much traffic is hitting those streets.
Well, certainly signal prioritization and signalization is important. We talk to transit experts all the time. I was at the Civic Design Luncheon a couple of days ago, and they had a guy there who made me wish to go. I could go to graduate school. Who was talking about cities like Shanghai that he's worked in, and a couple of things he says is when you have 1 million people coming into an area like we are expecting in the next 20 years, you can't widen the roads enough. Also, we have to do something more radical. We can start with signalization, and that does help, but it's not going to be enough. When you start adding 1 million people, you just can't make the roads wide enough.
How does ridership affect the route selections, and where do we see it going in the future?
I don't know. I honestly, I do not understand, the science of ridership. That is, I wish I could address that. I cannot. But and as to where it goes in the future, honestly, I think a lot of that depends on this upcoming public process. We want to hear from people, good, bad, and ugly. And perhaps someday you'll have Steve Bland on. He is our new CEO. When he was in Pittsburgh, they did a similar strategic outreach, and they had a bus they wrapped with the words, "Tell us where to go."
Oh, I like that.
Well,
And he said, and people did tell us, but you know what? It got people out and on the bus, and they said, "Look, I can't get from here to here, and I need to go there." So that's what this upcoming process is to do. I would hope we don't make any decisions until we get a lot of engagement. We need you to say, "Man, I can't get down Jefferson Street or wherever."
Well, the interesting thing is I'm from New York, so I grew up in rapid transit heaven. I didn't learn to drive till I moved to Nashville, so I didn't learn to drive till I was 27.
And you learned to drive here?
I learned to drive here, and I'm still better than 99% of the people who drive here. But it's definitely something that it's the convenience of, being able to get on the train or get on the bus at any hour of the night, and for them to run consistently. That's the key. I've had children who've gone to, I live by Percy Priest Lake, and I've had children to go to magnet school, and and they'd have to get on the bus at 5 a.m. to get there, and then they didn't get home till 5 p.m. That's a long day because we had to time it out, and there's plenty of times that I had to play chase the bus and stop in front of the bus so that the bus would stop so they could get to school on time. And I think that this is something a lot of parents need to start thinking about this. And
are you concerned with the mayoral election that's coming up, obviously? Are you concerned that there aren't going to be supporters of this since it is kind of being put on hold for the next incoming mayor? I did read that one of the 5 potential candidates, is in support, but how many of the others do you think
that is something to consider
would be supportive?
Well, let me just say, if I were running for mayor right now, given the status of this project, I would try to say as little as possible. So whoever gets elected is going to need to deal with transit. Now,
no matter
whether
if it's AMP or not, you have to do it because we're growing exponentially. I mean, it's almost.
It's interesting that you say that, though, because if I were somebody who was hosting a debate, then that would be what I'd put on the table.
Absolutely, and we'll see what they say.
Well, let's see. Let's throw a
well,
little.
I'm sure that's going to happen at some point. But I know a couple of the mayoral candidates fairly well, but who's gonna put themselves out there? I wouldn't. I mean, you gotta even if you want to do the right thing by everybody, you got to get in office first. So who's gonna say I love it and I think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and alienate the people who aren't sure about it or don't like it? And who's gonna say, well, anybody who's not for it is a moron?
So they'll do the typical political thing and ride the fence until they get in.
And then it's frankly, like I said, whoever gets in, regardless of who they hear from, is going to have to deal with transit. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the candidates from pro-transit people. I kind of lump people into pro-transit and anti-AMP.
Now, one of the things you just said that you want to hear from people. How can people contact you and let you know what their thoughts are?
Well, you know what? I put myself out there, frankly. They can go on the MTA website, which I think you might have it in front of you, and I'm 50 years old, so I don't remember addresses. There's a link on that.
MTA.amp. at nashville.gov.
Yes, thank you.
Look at you, Lainey. You get a gold star for the day.
However, we're in the process of developing the community outreach plan for this upcoming strategic plan that I said launches after the first of the year. And I hope I can come back on and talk about it when we actually get it launched. And I also urge, we're going to communicate, I cannot tell you, as widely as we can via radio and online and newspaper and TV and community meetings. But folks also have to pay attention, because I think a lot of times you do these community meetings and you ask for outreach and folks go, transit, not interesting. Mm-hmm. So at least we've talked about using as our tagline for this, now that we have your attention, because now at least people are paying attention to transit.
Holly, we thank you so much for coming back today, and we will have you on again. And we've got to bring give me his name again.
Steve Bland.
Steve Bland. We've got to bring him back too. You know, we have men on here from time to time.
Right,
we have
want to talk about
today.
Not just AMP here, but what about AMP to Murfreesboro and AMP to?
She's throwing it out there.
No, that's good. We got to have a regional transit plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holly
Thanks,
McCall,
ladies.
everybody.
Thank
you so
Holly.
much, everyone. Stay tuned. We have just a couple of minutes. We're going to throw in a couple of round robin talk. No, we're not even, because I have to discuss some things. Real Housewives and Scandal. We've just got.
No, we can't talk about Real Housewives. I didn't watch it.
Right, I don't watch Real Housewives
What?
either.
I watch it, but I didn't.
That's all right. I'll talk about it all myself. By myself. Everyone, stay tuned. We will be right back. Holly McCall was with us today.
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. We rope it up, cause we know how to jump. We roll it out, cause we know how to skate. We'll cut it down, cause we know what to eat. We'll swap it out, we eat healthy stuff. Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. Yeah, well come on.
Today's a good day to grab your kids and hang out with them for an hour. Dance, walk, play a sport, or cook a healthy meal. Because just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier.
Can we do it? Yeah, you know that we can. We'll ball it up, cause we know how to hoop. We'll mess around, cause we know how to play. We'll drop it down, cause we know how to dance. We'll veg it up, veggie night and day. Can we do it?
Search We Can online to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day to keep you and your kids healthy. Remember, that's We Can. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
And welcome back to Pumps and Politics. Like, we still have Holly in here, and hold on, let me get a hug real quick. Hold on. Let me tell you hello. Okay, sorry about that. Y'all know how we do on here. Bye, Holly. Have a good one. We'll have you back. This is just how we do on Pumps, and we're just gonna ride it out.
Yes, we are.
Because today's been a good day. Now we only have like a minute and a half left. So let me just go ahead and get this in. Real Housewives, since y'all don't watch it, let me just say
I do watch it. Didn't watch it last night.
Oh my gosh, we have to pick this up next week because Apollo went to prison.
Right.
But Phaedra was not there at his court appearances.
I did see that part, and I'm not mad
She
at
was
her.
not there. Okay, and she was not there when he had to leave. And now he's like, "Oh, I'm getting a divorce. You weren't there for me." She said, "Well, you weren't there for your family. You made your decisions, and I had to make mine."
Boom. That's
There's
it.
a great divide. Scott and I had some really good discussion on that. I've said I'm in favor of Phaedra because he has embarrassed her by trying to cheat and be around with all these women, and then makes a decision that's not in favor of his family. Somebody had to choose the family first, and she did. Those are just my thoughts. Can we talk about Scandal real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll give that to you all. All I have to say is I'm so over Fitz and Olivia. I'm
So
just really, really
blah,
done.
blah, blah.
That's all I
The
have to say.
phone sex, I'm done.
Okay, now that was a great. Let's
It was
get
a
back
great
to that
scene,
though.
but I didn't want her to fall for it.
I know.
Don't fall.
I
Don't
know.
fall for the
But
hype.
we know that's how we all do. Come on, ladies.
It's true.
Can we talk
Some
about though?
men
Because
that
maybe
gets
you
on
see
the
yourself in that
phone.
situation.
I think we all did.
Yeah,
but is it just me or is it like a little more vulgar this season? Like the sex scenes and whatnot are a little whole.
think Shonda is doing that across the board.
Yeah, because
especially
How to Get
on
Away
How to
with
Get
Murder.
Murder.
Woo!
Oh my gosh, I'm just like
Some of those
gotta
scenes I have to
close
look through my
eyes.
hands because I'm like,
I got lost after the second episode and I just stopped.
Of How
But
to
I'm
Get
gonna
Away with
go
Murder?
back.
go back.
Yeah, it's
and watch
great.
because I
what
really
I've
want to like the
learned?
show.
I don't watch How to Get Away with Murder after Scandal. I wait and watch it on its own. Because
It seems like a lot.
It's much better. Just like I watch it like on a Saturday or Sunday, like during
Okay.
the day, and just catch up that way. It's much easier because my head is
I'm gonna
already
try that.
And see,
scandalized.
I can't. I have to watch it after Scandal because I'm still on that high. So it just keeps me up. And actually, you start to see some of her similarities in her techniques with both shows.
Yeah.
The whole
The fast talk,
yeah,
the
the fast
monologues,
talking, just the
complexity,
high
the-
energy, the complexity of the characters.
Yeah.
Again, she loves bringing in the alternative lifestyle situations and really
Yeah.
putting that in our face. So yeah,
and I may be like
goes
old school, but
hard.
Grey's Anatomy has been picking up, and it's actually really, really good this season.
I watched it Thursday.
and
and
Grace
it
Grace
was-
is getting good.
Yeah,
I've seen a few episodes of Grey's and it's really good, but they're in like their 7th, 8th, or 10th. Okay, 10 seasons.
Right.
I have a lot of
so
catching up
it's
to
kind
do.
of it's you can tell it's coming to an end. It's kind of getting to that point of it's not a whole lot more that you can really talk about because they're now starting to bring in long lost daughters
Right.
that are
It's
half
over.
siblings
It's-
and all
it's
that
Like the
good
soap
stuff.
opera pool where people start dying and
Yeah,
coming back to life kind of thing.
all of that good stuff.
But it's
So-
definitely, it's picked up this season a lot. I think the last 2 seasons it kind of fell off a little bit, but now it's picked up a little
Now
bit.
I will say Millie. Now y'all know she a little bit my girl now.
No, I love Millie. I
Oh my
love her.
gosh, she came back with a vengeance after being called Smelly.
Yeah, she did not
Millie,
like that.
She was like, I'm not having that. So she came back with a vengeance, and that I think is what's helped picking up.
I'm
Scandal
looking
as
forward to the
well.
rest of it. All right, well, we got to wrap it up.
Oh,
okay,
wait, before
well,
we go, we do need
yes.
to send our condolences out to the family of Dr. Miles
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes, we
who
do.
was a pastor who was killed last night, along with 9 other people, including his wife, on a plane heading into Freeport, Bahamas. The plane crashed. They're not exactly sure why. So we do need to send our condolences out to his friends, families, followers.
Right. He was just here in July
At
at
Fisk.
Fisk, and he awesome speaker. If you did not have an opportunity to hear him speak, he is so motivating, really awesome. A man of God too. I mean, I was really shocked when I saw that yesterday.
Condolences to them, as you mentioned, Lainey, and to everyone. Be sure, as we've been saying, a thread throughout the theme throughout this whole show. Be sure to be involved, get your voice heard. That's one of the things that he was doing. He was there serving as a consultant, as part of being in the know, as part of politics, if you will. Please hang out with us. Come hang out with us November 17th at the North Police Precinct at 6 p.m., where you will get to meet your next mayor. The candidates are out there now. One of them will be the CEO of your city. Be sure to be there on November 17th, 6 p.m., North Police Precinct.
We will be there.
We will be there. Come hang with us as well. And be sure to hang out with us on Facebook and on Twitter, Pumps and Politics. Everybody, we will talk to you next Monday. Take care.